There's a certain category of wartime innovation that never receives the credit it deserves. It doesn't look heroic in a museum case or shine like polished equipment, yet it shaped daily survival for millions. During World War II, soldiers, partisans and even civilians stuck behind supply shortages relied on a type of fuel most people today would never recognize. It wasn't made in a factory, it wasn't rationed formally, and it didn't come stamped with an official emblem. It came from trash, literal scraps that armies normally threw away. Before the story of this forgotten fuel tablet unfolds, it's important to understand why it mattered. On the front lines, fire meant hot rations, dry boots, sterilized water and morale in places where temperatures plunged and supplies ran thin. You know, a small, reliable, smokeless fuel source became absolutely priceless, and the tablet made from waste really filled that gap in a way that official gear just never could. That's the hook, right there, that once spread across entire battalions, a simple handmade heat source that honestly outperformed anything they were issued. Now we move directly into what the fuel tablets actually were. The concept, well, it began as a battlefield necessity and quickly spread through improvised workshops, field kitchens and resistance networks across Europe and Asia. Soldiers and civilians needed a fuel that was light to carry, capable of burning predictably and usable even when wood was soaked by rain or snow. The solution turned out to be a surprisingly efficient mixture of paper waste, wood shavings, grease residue from cooking pots, and paraffin scraped from damaged candles. When compressed together tightly and dried, the mixture became a dense, slow-burning block. These tablets produced enough heat to boil water in a small mess tin or, warm a shelter without flaring up or smoking heavily. Some units called it compressed trash fuel, others grease cakes, and in several resistance groups it was simply field bricks. The idea was universal, even if the names varied. What made the tablet so effective was the way the materials worked together, really. The paper and shavings acted as a structural binder, creating a dense matrix that prevented the fuel from collapsing as it burned. The grease and paraffin embedded in the fibres increased energy output and allowed the block to burn steadily instead of flashing up and extinguishing itself like dry paper. This combination created a sustained flame ideal for small stoves, improvised heaters and even trench warmers. The tablets required almost no airflow control and produced minimal sparks, which kept positions concealed during nighttime cooking. This mattered tremendously in sniper zones and occupied territories where any visible smoke or flame could attract unwanted attention. Recreating the method today is not theory. The first step is shredding paper thoroughly. World War II accounts describe using ration wrappers, newspaper, cardboard and letters too damaged by rain to keep. In a modern setting, junk mail, brown bags or old packaging work just as well. Right, so the next step is adding the energy-rich component. Back in the war, this came from the grease scraped from cooking tins, or, paraffin collected from broken candles. These days, leftover cooking oil or wax drippings serve as the equivalent. The key here is heating the grease or wax just until it liquefies, then mixing it thoroughly into the shredded paper until the fibres soften and, bind together. Once everything is combined, the mixture is pressed firmly into a mould. Wartime instructions mention using tin cans cut into short cylinders, since the walls kept the compressed mixture from expanding outward. At home, the same technique works with cans or even small metal cups. After pressing, the blocks must dry. Back in World War II, soldiers would place them near stoves, under bunks, or inside sunlit windows of their barracks. These days, the modern equivalent is simply letting them sit for several days in a warm, ventilated space. When fully dried, the tablets shrink just a bit and harden into tough, durable fuel. The historical accounts also show how these tablets were used for heat management. During the freezing Italian mountain campaigns, units placed them inside small trench heaters to slowly warm the interior of stone shelters. Partisans in forest bunkers, used them to warm food without giving off visible smoke that could reveal their hideout. In the Pacific Theatre, they were valued because, tropical rains soaked firewood faster than troops could dry it. An off-grid user today can honestly replicate the same advantage by storing dried tablets in sealed containers for emergencies. They will burn even after months of storage, and honestly, they tend to outperform wet wood in cold or damp environments. Another forgotten application was in water purification. Boiling water in tin mugs was often the difference between disease and survival. One tablet could keep a rolling boil going long enough to sterilize a litre of water. In a survival or bushcraft context, this is still extremely valuable. The controlled burn prevents pot soot from becoming excessive, and, it allows the user to ration fuel effectively. These World War II fuel tablets are more than an interesting footnote, They serve as a reminder that self-reliance grows strongest when people stop wasting what they have. The very idea that scraps of paper and leftover grease could power an army, it really underlines how resilient resourcefulness can be. Relearning these methods doesn't just honour the past. It gives modern viewers practical tools that work when, honestly, everything else fails. If you want more deep practical history like this, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share this video with someone who appreciates forgotten skills that still matter today.